I'm Scared of Halloween. Written and narrated by Lady Spookaria. Have you ever lived in a house for years with absolutely no problems at all? Then suddenly things begin to happen and you wonder what you did to upset the ghosts in your house. I've lived in this house with my mum, dad, 3 sisters and my grandpa after my grandma passed away. My house has been haunted for as long as I can remember. Occasionally you would see spirits standing at the foot of your bed, watching you. I would even say that the spirits were protective of us. When there was a fire, they alerted us to let us know it was time to escape. I felt a chill, cold hand on my cheek during the night. I awoke with a fright to see a semi-transparent girl beside me. She pointed to the door, whispered, "Fire." The smoke filled the hallway and we ran outside, managing to escape. I looked up to my bedroom window and saw her staring down at us, a somber expression on her tiny face. There were 2 other ghosts that resided in the house with us. An elderly gentleman. He hated loud music and always expected us to behave like ladies. So he would throw the odd book at us when we swore or got really angry if we brought a boy home. He liked to hang out in the study. Never spoke much though. Then there was a middle-aged woman. I think she was a maid a long time ago. If something is in the wrong place, it will go missing before appearing in the right one. The spirits have always been helpful towards us. Almost part of the family. It changed when Halloween rolled around last year. There were the usual trick-or-treaters. We'd open the door and admire their costumes, give them some candy and watch a scary movie or 2. There was a strange woman who came to the door. She only knocked once. There was an instant change in the air. A chill, cold dread over the entire house. On the doorstep was a woman garbed in Victorian attire, pale as the moon, and we could not see her eyes. Her lips were stained red, and she smiled. We stared at her in confusion, before my sister murmured a small, "Hello?" "May I come in?" she asked. Her voice was smooth and alluring. We both were eagerly about to grant her permission when the door was forced shut, locked, and outside we heard a loud, mocking laugh. When I looked through the peephole, she was gone. After that, the spirits became restless and angry. Each of us began having nightmares at night. And the ghosts, they became sadistic towards us. They would scratch us, wake us up, bite us, whisper at us that they want to kill us. And one time, I was in the library doing homework. The old man's hands went around my neck. I was frozen, unable to move. I felt his hands tighten around my throat. My breath became sharp. In the reflection, I could see his slender arms and bearded face. Before, all the ghosts always looked more human, their faces kinder. This time, he looked skeletal, demonic, and his eyes glowed orange. He leaned down to whisper in my ear, "Run before Halloween. She will be back," he whispered, a hint of desperation and fear in his voice. Briefly, his old expression returned before he disappeared. How did this woman turn the ghost against the rest of the family? How? I asked. He looked as though he was about to speak. The words caught in his tongue before he vanished. There was a pause. I looked down at my phone. It was the 30th of October, the day before Halloween. Again, I felt eyes on me. A vase crashed against the wall, broke and shattered on the floor into pieces. I heard screams in the distance. I pushed back my chair, ran towards the room, and saw my sister pinned, the little girl's hands around her throat. I ran towards them to try to pry them apart when I saw them whispering to each other. The little girl disappeared. My sister fell to the floor with a loud bang. She looked like a fallen doll and slumped forward. She clutched her ears, sobbed, and her small body shook violently with each passing sob. My arms instantly went around her shoulders. All she murmured was a soft, She told me to leave. It continued to raise more questions than answers. The maid had attacked my mother and she refused to speak a word about it. Every ghost demanded we leave, but why? One morning I was in the kitchen washing dishes when a foul odor hit me. I coughed and gagged, clutched my mouth and ran outside to get some fresh air. I wanted to move, to leave, but we had nowhere else to go. I noticed the door to the crawl space under the house was open. Normally it was locked to protect the local dogs, cats, or possums from going inside. I was drawn to the space, and I had to crawl through the maze. There were cobwebs sticking to my hair, and I had to keep an eye out for spiders. There was a wooden box, old and covered in a thick layer of dust. I struggled to open it as it had rusted over. Unsure of what to do, I dragged it outside into the sunlight before prying it open with a crack. Inside were old black and white photos. They'd been preserved. However, there were signs of water damage. The first image was the maid. She'd been standing to one side, but I could clearly make out her features. I flipped it over. It spoke about a woman with a scratched out face in the picture. The next one was the old man. I recognized him clearly, as he was the ghost I spent the most time with, and flipped it over. It had his name, John Carpenter, his birthday and the date he passed away. Otherwise, it was quite uneventful. The final picture was a little girl with a doll in her arms, the same girl I saw regularly. I placed the photographs beside me and rummaged through the box. There was an old journal. I nearly missed it, but there was one final photograph. It was the woman who arrived on Halloween a year ago. She hadn't aged. She hadn't changed. Even the photograph alone gave me an uncertain feeling in my stomach, as though she was looking at me through the photograph. I gulped, turned it over and opened the journal. The handwriting was cursive, chaotic and beautiful at the same time. I skipped to the final page and figured it would have the answers I craved. The final page was dated the 31st of October, 1891. It worked. It cost me in blood. My father, daughter, and maid are dead. I can feel it. I have become immortal through him. I have to return to this place on All Hallows Eve to renew the ritual. My eyes widened at this. The ghost had never spoken about how or why they died. I kept reading. With each new family, my power will grow stronger and stronger. I will be the terror in the world. I bound their souls to the house, and they tried to fight me. Every year they weakened my wishes. They become weaker, and I become stronger. What the hell? I dropped the book and shook my head. I believed in ghosts. I knew them. I had to get my family out of the house. As I stood up, I murmured to myself how I was going to explain this to the ghosts and see if they had any answers for me. I took the box with all the items I needed. I ran back inside the house. I know what happened. I know who she is. How can I help you? You don't need to do this, I called out to the empty walls. I received no answer in response. Please, listen to me. Again, more silence. I couldn't feel them anywhere. I reached out with my hand and walked down the hallway. Anything to try to find where they were. It was getting dark outside. The house was becoming chilly. The kind where your bones would ache and burn. The lights faded and the normally bright house was grey. Outside, I could hear the trick-or-treaters begin their passage. I knew what I had to do. I had to get my family out of my house. I kept walking around and began to cough. It was only then that I saw them outside peering through the window, holding each other and sobbing. I tried to open the front door. It felt as though it was deadbolted and I choked. I hit the doors and the windows, crying out for them to help me. I had to break a window to get out. I ran towards the dining room. My hands tightly gripped a chair, lifted it up into the air, and it was caught. I turned to see the woman from before, the murderess. Her clawed hand went around my throat, squeezed tightly, and I felt the world disappear. I was in a dreamless sleep. A dream. Thank fuck it was just a dream. I woke up curled up on the floor. Around me were boxes of my family's property. The furniture had been wrapped up, and I awkwardly stood up. There was a sign outside the front of my house. Hello? Hello? Mom? Where is... I felt arms wrap around my waist and looked down to see a familiar face. It was the little girl. She looked... human. All the demonic signs were gone. Hi, you're one of us now. You're not going to leave now. One of us? I questioned, and looked down at her face, shaking my head. The realization of what that meant sank in. It meant I was dead. Mom? Where are you? It was a long time for you. You woke up later, and they're moving out now. I couldn't be dead. Then I remembered the smoke and her hand around my neck. I remembered life leaving my body. I found the journal again, and it said, I have added another to my collection, and I will only grow stronger. Don't forget to stab or caress the like button, comment, share this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. This video is made with the support of my Patreons. Stay safe, my little spooklings. And remember, I'll be watching you.